Hey everyone! I just wanted to quickly pop on to discuss the Discourses on Learning and Education resource that I sent out last week. So this is a resource created by Brent Davis and Krista Francis from the University of Calgary. And they describe this website as being designed like a dictionary, and it summarizes over 1,500 discourses, sub-discourses, and consequential constructs within education. And this includes a lot of the learning theories that we're discussing this semester. So the centerpiece or heart of this website, if you will, is the map that they've created on Discourses of Learning, which I have here up on my screen right now. And this map highlights its convergences and divergences amongst these different discourses within education. And while they do have a page on here about how to read the map, which you can see here up at the top, I thought it might be easier for me to actually show you all how to navigate this in a screencast. So we'll start with all these little bubbles or clusters of associated discourses that you can see here on the map. And the authors have sorted these different discourses into thematic clusters, with the name of the thematic clusters being bolded. So as you can see here, activist discourses, discourses on learning collectives, these are all bolded. And there's also a search bar up here in the top left corner. So if you want to see where a specific learning theory fits within the map, you can quickly find it this way. So for example, if I wanted to find critical pedagogy, I could just type in critical pedagogy. Spell it right, hopefully. Yeah, and here it is. So you can see it's highlighted over here under activist discourses. And then I can just delete that to make it disappear. Also, as you've probably noticed here, if you hover your mouse over the cluster name, it will enlarge the name of the cluster and it will highlight the whole cluster or the bubble. So if I hover over activist discourses here, as I have, as you can see, the name of the cluster is enlarged and the whole thing is highlighted. Same with some of the other ones. When I just hover over them, it circles them for me. And so you can see here within each of these clusters, there's a number of different theories and discourses. So within activist discourses, for example, we can see critical pedagogy, feminist pedagogy, we can see neurodiversity. And clicking on the name of these will bring up a description of the theme here. So if I click on activist discourses, I get a nice little summary on this here. I can learn more by clicking down here. And I can also click on critical pedagogy, and it will also bring up a little summary here for me. And then you just hit the X to exit it. And you can also search for these various summaries if you go up here to alphabetical index, and then you can search for specific theories and discourses this way. So along the horizontal axis down here at the very bottom, we have a few things. So first is the option to distinguish between correspondence discourses or theories and coherence discourses. So when I hover over correspondence down here, it highlights all of them, and when I go over coherence discourses, it highlights them as well. Now we can break this down even further between the coherence discourses and the correspondence over here. So for example, last week we talked about behaviorism as an example. So if I just want to see things related to behaviorism, I just go over behaviorism and then it highlights them over here. And mentalisms, which includes cognitivism, as we discussed in our previous module, same thing, I hover over mentalisms and it highlights those clusters for me. And then the same thing with the coherence discourses over here. And for those of you who took EDU 5101 with me or with Angus, you can also highlight the discourses that are associated with each of the educational moments in Engaging Minds. So I just scroll down a little farther here and you can see the moments along here. And as I go over them, it brings them up for me. So very handy. And there's also a vertical axis, which is a lot more difficult to see over here. Very, very small text. So this bottom section of the map here is looking more so at discourses on interpreting learning. So they offer definitions and descriptions of its aspects, its dynamics, its consequences. And then at the top around in here, the map is looking more so at discourses that influence learning as opposed to interpreting learning. So these address matters that are associated with pedagogy, such as traits, experiences, technologies, contexts, relationships that can affect learning. And then they also have some of what they call bands. There's a couple of them along the horizontal axis at the very top over here, and also at the bottom down here. And these contain key metaphors of education, teaching, learners, and learning. So for example, in Module 2, for cognitivism, we talked about how teaching was akin to instructing or delivering and transmitting knowledge here, and using metaphors that were related to computers. And then you can see how these metaphors shift as we move from the left side of the map over here along to the right. And we're going to talk more about these different metaphors as we progress through our course. And then the last thing I wanted to highlight here is this little tiny box here, the little legend here, that has to do with how they've color-coded things. So it's a bit difficult to read it here, but you can view it under the alphabetical index if you want to see it a bit larger, which I'm actually going to do here for you. So you can see it larger here. So in short, discourses that you find in green, like this, and we'll go back to the map in a moment, but those ones are ones that they've classified as scientific. So they are robustly theorized and empirically grounded. They aim at innovative contributions to understanding learning. And those that are in this kind of amber color here, those are ones that are quasi-scientific or have limited scientific evidence. And so they lack some critical elements that would be associated with it being a more robust scientific knowledge. And then the red discourses here are the ones that they have deemed to be unscientific according to their criteria, which they do share on the website. So they're inattentive to a lot of the assumptions that are going on here. For example, the types of metaphors that these discourses may use to describe learning. And they have a tendency towards the uncritical, entailment-heavy assertions about learning. And they talk more about this criteria on the website, so if you're interested, do check it out. And I'm just going to show you back on the map where these color coding are. So you can see some of them here. We have some in red, especially over on this side. Lots of red over here, and then we also have some amber, especially like in the more like behaviorist area here. Lots of the amber as well as throughout the rest of the map. And then we have some green ones over here, like deep ecology being one of them, ecological systems theory, critical pedagogy is another one that also appears in green. And there's also a few that, well, you'll notice have stars or asterisks beside them. So these are discourses that weren't initially intended as discourses on or associated with learning, but they are ones that we have adapted or hijacked within education. So for example, over here, like empiricism appears here, reductionism appears here, with asterisks beside them. So just keep an eye out for those ones on this map. And I'm going to end things here. I hope that this little screencast was helpful, and I'm showing you how you can navigate this resource. It's really, really neat, and I hope you do spend some time going through it, especially going through the search here where you can go through different theories and discourses. And as you can see, they have a fair bit of information on it, including like its status of whether or not it is a learning theory or a teaching theory, some of the sub-discourses, and a bit of a commentary on it. Yeah, I'm going to end things here, and do let me know if you have any questions about this. I may or may not be able to answer them about this website, but I welcome your questions, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.